Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Gilda Evans, bringing you the Autism Resource Podcast. This podcast and the Autism Resource Project website are your one-stop knowledge and resource base for autism and much more. I'm very pleased to have Taiba Bajar join me as my guest today. Taiba is on a mission to help parents of autistic children achieve their developmental milestones. She accomplishes this through her award-winning 7-step Autism Action Plan, which is designed to help autistic children reach their milestones within 12 months. Also an award-winning researcher, Taiba was the recipient of the Clinical Research Prize from the University of Bristol, where she graduated with 2 degrees in Dentistry and Bioethics. Welcome, Taiba, and thank you so much for taking time to join me and talk about your work.
Thank you for having me, Gilda. It's a pleasure to be here.
So just to get started, tell me a bit about your journey and what brought you to where you are now.
Sure. About 11 years ago now, I graduated with a degree in dentistry, and that was great. I loved the experience, loved learning all about science. Now I've got a 6.5-year-old son and a 3.5-year-old daughter. And along that journey with my son, he was developing normally. Everything was fine. But then when he was 20 months old, he had a sudden skills regression. So where he had words and had eye contact and was talking, that all stopped, and he stopped eating. His sleep became very erratic, and he started showing repetitive behaviors and an extreme anxiety. And I've got 2 sisters who are teachers, and when they saw this rapid skills regression in my son, they told me that this is a symptom of autism and I need to get help because early years intervention is best for him. So I did. I went to the doctors here in the UK, and I felt like I was just getting fobbed off. And the medical professionals that I did see, I feel like they spent majority of the time of the appointment trying to decrease my lifelong expectations of him rather spending that time trying to help him. And then I realized I had so many hopes and dreams for my son. I couldn't see him deteriorate. I didn't want a life for him where he's not talking, where he doesn't have friends, and he's not independent. Therefore, because of my background in dentistry and my award-winning research skills, I had the confidence to go, and I thought, okay, I can help him myself. I went to the scientific research papers and I just wanted to learn what is causing his autism symptoms because the doctors in the UK were saying it's genetic. And I said, no, it's not genetic because he wasn't born like this. Something has happened which has caused this change. They're like, no, he always had autism, but the symptoms are showing later for him. But what caused it? I didn't really buy into that belief. And then everything I learned about neuroplasticity from my dentistry degree, about how much the brain develops in the first 5 years, the way that the medical professionals had written off my son, I couldn't believe that for him. I felt there's room to change this. They don't know what I know. So then I looked into the biological causes of autism, and I learned about the correlation of gut health and autism symptoms, about heavy metals and autism symptoms, about methylation and autism symptoms, and a whole wide range of things. And I did everything for him. So I slowly started doing all of these things for him and started seeing a rapid improvement in his skills and reduction in his symptoms. That was really great. And then people around me started knowing, realizing, oh, your son's doing so much better. What's caused this? And then I started helping people for free. And then about a year and a bit ago, I decided that there's a big need for this. So I decided to do it formally. And my program's called Autism Brain Empowerment.
So you've already touched on this in the things that you were talking about just now, but expand upon it a little bit, if you would, in terms of the motivation that you've had to write your book, Unlock Autism.
The motivation to write my book, Unlock Autism, was to really spread the word out there. After the experience I had with my son and how much I've been able to help other children meet their milestones and really reduce their symptoms after years of no progress or little to nil progress, one of my missions is for everyone to realize globally that autism is not just genetic, it's epigenetic. You can do something about it. So that's a mission I'm on, to really spread that word that autism, there's environmental influences that can increase and decrease your symptoms. So if you learn about that, something that can really help your child start achieving their milestones.
While we're still on your book, what are some important things that you'd like parents or those who choose to read your book to get out of it? What are some of the highlights that the book talks about that you'd like to share?
Sure. So the main promise of my book is that parents will leave with a 7-step autism action plan to help their child start achieving their developmental milestones within 12 months. So that's the main promise of my book, that you will get a 7-step autism action plan that you can do at home with your child. The main insight that readers have told me is that it's a very practical book. It's very action orientated, and they are learning so much about autism. I feel like this information isn't out there. Like, a collective group of researchers are aware that there are environmental influences which are increasing autism rates and what they are. But I believe my book is the first one to put them all together and create a plan for parents. There's a wide variety of different causes of autism symptoms. I think the vast majority of children have more than one biological cause for their autism, but there are some children who only have one. I've heard a lot of feedback from parents that when they start doing the plan at home, successively their children start getting a lot better. After they do each step, there's a big improvement. Next step, there's a big improvement. But there are some children who they only have one cause, and it's one of the 7 steps, and then the big improvement that comes. It's a really good and practical book. Really helpful.
Can you give me some examples of what you were just talking about, and also perhaps share some examples of the impact that you've made through your work as a parent coach?
Yeah, sure. I love hearing stories from my clients about how much improvement their children have made. So I run a program every quarter, a September group program, a January group program, an April group program, and a June group program for parents. The January group, I'm literally just starting because, well, while we're recording this podcast, it's January 2025. So the January group has just started. But some of those parents I onboarded in November and December. And there's one parent in the group who has a 7-year-old daughter. The 6-month goals for that parent was that she'd be out of nappies, be conversational, less tiptoe walking, less hand flapping. We've just started the program. We've just had 2 months of onboarding. She's already out of nappies. So she's not wearing nappies to school and not wearing nappies at home anymore. And I loved that because it was a 6-month goal and it's already come true. And that's from improving her gut health and changing her diet. And the mother said to me just last week that it's been 7 years and she finally knows what her daughter's voice sounds like. I was so happy. I told everyone, like, oh, one of my clients is saying this. It's just started in January. And so I'm so happy. Another parent from the January group program, she told me that her son has a lot of emotional meltdowns and eloping and aggressive behavior, but he is verbal. And she told me that since she started the program and she's implemented the changes, her son no longer hits her every morning. So in the morning, while she was getting him ready for school, it would always be a literal fight. Like he'd be hitting her and kicking her, and that stopped already. And it's only been 2 weeks, I think, since we've launched the group program officially. So when I hear this, I feel so happy.
What were the changes that the second parent made that seemed to have such an impact?
So all the changes are listed in the book. It's more comprehensive in the program because there's a lot more to it. But the changes that both those parents made was first to gut health. So usually parents in my program, I start step 1, 2, and 3 all at once. So step 1 is optimize oxytocin, how to increase oxytocin naturally into your child, so that they learn new skills faster. Step 2 is break down blood. So a blood test to assess any nutritional deficiencies and any other biological causes for their symptoms. For example, there's someone in my January program who their blood test showed that they had hyperthyroidism. The parents were like, he's very emotional. He's nonverbal as well, but he's very emotional, has a lot of aggressive behavior, does a lot of actions, which they thought was stimming, but it's actually muscle tremors from hyperthyroidism. So now that we've done that blood test, he can get medically treated and then those symptoms will decrease. there's been so much progress with loads of parents I'm working with. Yeah, so that's step 2 is break down blood. Step 3 is grasp the gut-brain bond. So that's when we talk about how the typical autistic child's gut microbiome, how it lacks diversity, how they probably had repeated antibiotics as a newborn and as a child, and also how to decrease the inflammation that's in their gut. So that's grasp the gut-brain bond and strategies on how to do that. Step 4 is called take down toxins. And that's talking about how to make dietary changes which will improve the health of their gut, their liver, their kidneys, and their skin, which are the natural organs of detoxification. So to remove heavy metals and toxins out of the body. Usually, that step, there's a big increase in engagement in the child. This child starts becoming conversational. Their behavior calms down so much. That's step 4, take down toxins. Step 5 is solve with supplements. Each child on my program is on a different set of supplements depending on what their symptoms are. An example of one would be omega-3. So in step 2, break down blood, one of the tests we will order is an omega-3 index test, which will assess your child's omega-3 index. So how much omega-3 is in their blood. And the optimum amount is 8 to 12%. And with 8 to 12%, you can concentrate and focus better and learn new skills better. Typically, autistic children have a 1% omega-3 index, or an ADHD child will have a 3% omega-3 index. Knowing this, you can correct it. Once you correct it, again, symptoms reduce and they make big improvements. So that's step 5, solve with supplements. Step 6 is charge the cerebellum. The cerebellum is an area at the back of everyone's brain, which makes up about 10% of the size of your brain, but it has 80% of your brain's connections within it. So it's often called the brain's brain. And that's smaller in autistic children. But just like there are exercises that you can do to increase the size of your bicep, there's exercises you can do to increase the size of your cerebellum. So when you do that, again, autism symptoms decrease. And my last step, step 7, is empower emotions. So that is acknowledging the fact that autistic individuals are 4 times more likely to have depression in their lifetime, twice as likely to have bipolar disorder, and again, more likely to have anxiety compared to neurotypical individuals, and more likely to struggle with friendships, which are so protective for physical and mental health. Step 7, empower emotions, is how to teach emotional intelligence to your child so that they can thrive in relationships and understand that better, and how to develop more self-awareness of their own emotions as well.
Wow, that seems pretty comprehensive and actually makes a lot of sense. The old saying, you are what you eat, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We make new cells in our body every single day, and we make those new cells from the things we put inside our body. Not just from food, but also the creams we put on our body, the sprays that we're spraying, the shampoo that we put in our hair, and we feel like, oh, we're just rinsing it off after a minute. The skin is bidirectional. It lets things in the body and it takes things out of the body. So whatever you put on your skin goes in your body, including your shampoo. And chronic exposure, so long-term exposure to smaller things, build up and accumulate in the body. So we really have to be careful because our body is using all of these environmental things, your food, the products you're using, to make new cells.
That's really interesting. So the parents that participate in your program, do they come from all over the world? I'm just curious in terms of the geographic spread of the people who are participating. And how long is your program?
My program is 6 months long, and I make the promise to parents that in 6 months you'll have all the tools to do this, to carry on this program for at least 12 months. My average is that most parents on the program get a breakthrough by month 3, month 4, or month 5. So you can just say around 4 months of the 6 month program where they are really happy with their children. I'm due to record a video testimonial from a client who's on the September group program. And one of the things she said to me recently was that the child, she has 2 kids, and the child that she rolled into the Autism Brain Empowerment Program is no longer her problem child because he's so calm, so happy, so focused. School would say he's a pleasure to have. And she's my second born. He's the one that has slightly bad behavior. He doesn't have autism. He doesn't have a developmental delay, but she's moved on from being so worried about her firstborn now. It's a 6 month program, but parents generally, the average breakthrough is month 3, month 4, or month 5, which I love. I love it. In terms of the geographical spread, it's open to everyone around the world. I have a group program and a one-on-one program. And generally, so far, all my clients have been from either from the UK or the Middle East. My mission is to get this global. So to let empower thousands of parents globally to know that autism is not genetic, it's epigenetic. Environmental influences can increase and decrease symptoms.
When you say that it's epigenetic and not genetic, do you mean that there's nothing in the DNA or in the genetic makeup that gives a predisposition, if you will, for developing certain symptoms and presentations, and that other factors then play into bringing those out?
What I mean by that is you can have a genetic predisposition to something and
Uh-huh.
not show symptoms. For
Uh-huh.
example, I may have the genetic predisposition to have the obesity gene. So I've got an obesity gene inside of me. And maybe that means if I eat a lot of fast food and a lot of sugary food, I'm more likely to be obese than someone without that gene. But it doesn't, but if I'm in a healthy food environment, if I'm in a environment where there's food poverty and there's no food at all, that obesity gene doesn't get switched on. So autism is a biological program. It's biological symptoms. Children have developmental delays. They have problems sleeping. They have problems speaking. There's a developmental delay. There's a biological component here. But there's something in the environment which has happened in the last 50 years, which is switching on this genetic that predisposition that individuals are having. So the environment is the one that's changed so much in the last 50 years. I always compare it to food allergies. Food allergies are also biological. If a child ate a peanut or an egg and they're allergic to it, they would have a biological reaction where they stop breathing and they have an anaphylactic reaction. But we can all acknowledge that yes, food allergies and autism are both biological. But there's something in the environment where the rates have skyrocketed in the last 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. It wasn't like that before. I have two sisters who are teachers. One sister has been teaching for 19 years, and she tells me that the children that come in her classroom now are completely different than the children who were in her classroom 19 years ago. Loads more neurodiversity, a lot more non-verbal children, a lot more children with anxiety, a lot more children with food allergies. It's not just genetic. Something in the environment is causing the switch on of genes and its rapid rise in rates.
That makes sense. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So then tell me, what are one or two takeaways from our conversation that you would like our listeners to remember?
The biggest game-changing shift for me was learning that when people try to make me feel helpless and there's nothing you can do, yes, he has these struggles and he'll have them for the rest of his life. I just thought, okay, the person who is going to be really affected by this and me accepting that he's going to have these lifelong struggles and I might need to be his carer because he'll be developmentally delayed would be me and my son. I can't just live like that. I have to be the one to help him. And it literally, it broke my heart seeing him not having friends, seeing him by himself in a corner while the whole group are enjoying an activity and he's not part of the group. It broke my heart. So I'd rather learn what I can do to help him myself rather than rely on other therapists and professionals, which often don't work. And they're not going to be as affected with my son being developmentally delayed as I would be. And often, sadly, the lifelong caring aspect often falls onto the mother more than fathers. So I try to do my best to prevent that from happening. And that led to all this research that led to helping so many more families, hundreds of families really already around the world in doing this for their own children as well. A lot of good has come out of a very difficult, stressful time in my life. One takeaway I would like is that for parents to feel empowered themselves to learn about the biological causes of autism so that they can help their own children at home start meeting their milestones.
I do have one more question. A lot of your clients and people that you're working with now, their children are on the young side, or they're maybe newly diagnosed, they're 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. What about people who have children who are autistic and who are older? Maybe they're in their teens or even in their 20s or even older. Can this still be beneficial for them?
I 100% know it would be beneficial for them because one of my clients left me the most loveliest Happy New Year's message where she said that the program has 2024 was just an amazing year for helping her son achieve his milestones and make so much great progress in in his life, but also for her as the mum because she lost 20 kilograms. Once she incorporated all the healthy things she was doing for her son, she started doing it herself. She goes, it cleared her skin. She lost all that weight and she was so happy about it. So she had a really unexpected, nice, happy New Year's message, which was really lovely to receive. But she also told me that after working with me for her 9-year-old son, who's now 10, she started using these recommendations to help her 26-year-old nephew. And he said it was like I had a fog in front of my eyes and I couldn't see clearly. And now that's been lifted. So even though I don't directly work with individuals in their 20s, she used what she learned from my program, helped her nephew, and he's saw a massive benefit. So I know it helps people of different ages. On my program, I do only really help children between 2 to 11, and that's more of a personal choice because I think teenagers are more difficult to work with. So in the past, I have accepted a 13-year-old on the program, but the parent told me that child can't consent. He doesn't have any idea what was going on. If I was going to onboard a teenager, I would want them to want to get better and to start doing these things themselves because teenagers are a bit of a different ball game compared to young children. So I have in the past onboarded a 13-year-old. Generally, I do only work with children between 2 to 11, but I know it works for older individuals as well. Autism stay the same no matter what age you are, and you can change your brain at any age. It's not stuck. You can rewire it and change it, and that's what neuroplasticity is.
Thank you, Deva, so very much for your time
Okay.
and for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it. And if anyone in your audience wants to know more about me, I'm on social media as Autism Brain Empowerment. So I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, and those are my main platforms. And on LinkedIn, I'm Taiba Bajar. So Taibajar. And my website is www.autismbrainempowerment.com.
Thank you so much again for joining me, and you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you, Gilda. Thank you for having me. It's been lovely talking to you.
If you like what you hear, please subscribe to the podcast. You can find it on Apple iTunes, Amazon Music, Spotify, and other popular platforms. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you would like more information on this topic or anything else we've covered on the Autism Resource Podcast, visit us online at www.autismresourceproject.org/podcast. If you have a topic you'd like us to cover in the future, contact us through the website or comment on any of our social media channels. And be sure to check out our growing website often, since we are continually adding useful information and resources. I want to thank our listeners for spending part of their day with us. This is the Autism Resource Podcast, and I'm Gilda Evans, reminding you to take care of yourself and that special person in your life.